This week in games, Rockstar has partnered with the role-playing community. Borderlands 4 has been teased as early as this year. Sony keeps delaying PlayStation games, and Far Cry has a new sheriff in town. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 160. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hello. How are you all doing today?
Okay, nice. Okay, I love the charisma bursting through you this week, Connor. That's just an absolute joy to see.
That's good. I was hoping that was coming through.
Connor, how's your week been, my friend?
It's been good. It's been good. You and me have been busy looking around at things.
Yeah.
Possibly have to deal with each other more than we already do.
Indeed. Yeah, we are looking at some apartments. We're finally moving out of the family homes and figuring out what we're doing with the rest of our lives. And hopefully soon that means you'll see some new setups. You're definitely going to see some new backgrounds, especially on next week's episode of The Piggy Bank, which is another show that you get every Saturday at 8 a.m. Central, youtube.com/@2pennygames, and mainstream podcast services of your choice, which is where you can also find this show, which is the Two Penny Gamescast. Every week, me and Connor, we come to you with the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each come to you with two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can catch this show every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, mainstream podcast services of your choice, or you can watch it live when we go live at twitch.tv/2pennygames at 4 p.m. Central Time, and we record all of our podcasts like the Piggy Bank I already mentioned, the Two Penny Game Club, which is our monthly video game book club, which you can now check our newest episode of, which is Shadow of the Colossus. We played it, we reviewed it, we ranked it, and now we're moving on to Prey. So check back at the beginning of September for our review on that.
Did we like that game, Tavin?
Huh?
You have to find out. Here. Did we like that game?
Did we like
Shadow of the Colossus?
Shadow of the Colossus? Indeed, that's the purveying question. Does it hold up with a 2023 lens? Go check it out, youtube.com/@2pennygames for that, or watch us live, twitch.tv/2pennygames. Now, Connor, I think it's time that we just get right on into it, my friend. Let's drop some sense on them. It is time. Oh, wait, whoa, what happened here?
Uh-oh.
I messed up my time codes. Hold on. Oh, no.
This might be a problem.
Why did this
Sorry,
happen?
guys.
No.
Sorry,
I hate the technical issues. I hate them. Moving on. Connor, our first penny of the day is Grand Theft Auto 6 getting a role-playing server? This is coming to you from the Rockstar Games website, Newswire, where they have a role-play community update. CFX.RE joins Rockstar Games. Today, we are proud to announce that CFX.RE, the team behind the biggest Rockstar roleplay and creator communities, 5M and Red M, are now officially a part of Rockstar Games. Over the past few years, we've watched with excitement as Rockstar's creative community have found new ways to expand the possibilities of Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Particularly through the creation of dedicated roleplay servers. Excuse me. As a way to further support those efforts, we recently expanded our policy on mods to officially include those made by the roleplay creative team. By partnering with CFX.RE team, we will help them find new ways to support this incredible community and improve the services they provide to their developers and players. We look forward to sharing more in the weeks and months ahead. This also comes alongside news that GTA 6 is coming possibly as early as 2025, or maybe even late next year. And
they're always saying that.
They're always saying that, but I believe it. It's about time. Where, you do the math of, how long between games and so forth, and it feels about right. We're on a new console, and it's time for a GTA 6. They've already, we had those huge leaks last year. which kind of gave us sort of where they are at progress-wise. And now it's just a matter of time of when. Connor, you and I do not play a whole lot of GTA 5. And
Furthermore,
specifically, we don't play any of the role-playing stuff.
We do not. No, not even on other games. But you're an actor, Tavin. Kind of pathetic you don't do that. But
Excuse me?
To each their own. You're an actor.
Oh, because I'm an actor?
Yeah, so you have to do role-playing games like this. But some people can't be like that.
That's not how that works. Anyways, but we do have a good friend, good buddy, Fergus, friend of the show, is quite involved in all of the role-playing community stuff. I asked for his opinion on Twitter, and he responded back on Twitter, but also in a group chat with me and Phil, which, let me look up right here. Basically, to sum up those thoughts and some of the thoughts around other people who have weighed in from the community Discord chats that Fergus takes part in, is everyone feels very short-term, this isn't going to do anything. Maybe more dependent servers, maybe we can get more people in the servers, because I as I understand, the servers do well, but often they fall down or go offline at inconvenient times, and that's sort of a prevailing problem. So maybe this partnership with Rockstar can sort of allow those servers to have better maintenance and more stability throughout. But the hope is that Rockstar doesn't invade this community with a bunch of microtransactions and corpo sort of manipulation and greed and capitalism and all of that stuff, which would suck to see, because it's been a very organic growth with the Rockstar role-playing community. My suspicion is, Connor, is this has everything to do with GTA 6. And
getting set for it.
Yeah, and we will see a full-on role-playing server go live in GTA 6. Maybe not at launch, probably shortly after launch, maybe within 6 months of whatever GTA Online becomes in GTA 6. But I have a sneaking suspicion that a role-playing server or an option to play in a role-playing mode is going to be released in a more official capacity.
Yeah, really, it is just, as you said, a worry that they'll screw something up. Because support from the studios when it comes to the modding community, when it comes to the role-playing community, we've seen it have some great effects in the past, a lot of support. But then, as you said, companies can get extremely greedy, and they can include a lot of bullshit microtransactions, random things in there that just completely screw up what was already a good thing going. It seems like our buddy Fergus is not too dour on the whole thing, so I doubt they would come in and ruin things and change the landscape of something that clearly obviously works. They just want to have their own little piece of the pie from it. Yeah. And that kind of, from what we've seen how the RP community of GTA has gone for the past couple of years, it's best just to let them do their own thing. Let the people who play the game have control over how things go, not some suit in an office somewhere.
No, yeah, I'm with that. and we've seen things like this land on both sides of the coin, as you've said. I think Bethesda has had a pretty healthy relationship with its community and its modders and so forth, but we've seen other instances where the exact opposite has happened. You think of, not so much on PC, but, you think of how Nintendo very, litigiously goes after modders of their games and shuts things down for those. You think of how, very often modders get ignored or just straight up, shut down all the time based off of whatever publisher or company you can think of at the time. And so, there's a little bit of both sides to this. I think my gauge from what the community has said online so far is that they are optimistic that this means good things for the future, but they are still worried that it could possibly turn into something a little more negative. This was, to be fair, this was the, biggest thing happening within GTA 5 that could, kind of, on a very small level, compete with sort of the shark cards and the microtransactions that they had going on in that game. So, I don't know. It's really just a matter of wait and see. But hopefully, short term, this just means that more players get to play and have a better experience while doing it.
Only time will tell, as we
Indeed.
always say, or some form or fashion of that phrasing, because sometimes you just see news like this pop up and you're like, oh, okay. And then you don't really see the impact of it until
Yeah.
6 months later. And this is
Yeah.
definitely one of those things. Maybe we
Oh,
won't
for
even
sure.
see it until GTA 6 comes out. And we would
Yeah.
see that new modding space come out because they could take advantage of this, new ground since people aren't really going to be getting into the mods right away as quick, at least as quick as they would be with something that comes out that's been out as long as GTA 5. They want to play the story, they want to play the multiplayer that already comes in the package. So they might be trying to already, jump on it and do something with that space, which maybe that's when we will start to see the issues come up. But so far it seems like it's not really anything to worry about.
And hopefully this just means that we're looking at a very good and healthy thing grow into something a little more official, and something to sort of keep whatever boat floating that is GTA Online. Not that they need any help keeping the boat afloat, but it is just fun to kind of speculate and wonder and go, oh man, I hope this means. You think back to like olden times of really old online multiplayer games. I'm talking like early Xbox Live days, Halo 2 and all that, and sort of how there were communities grown in that era that you just don't really see anymore. And maybe this could kind of be a renaissance of that, where a lot of people are interacting together, a lot of people are having new experiences together with total strangers that they don't know, and it just leads to incredible stories of people doing these crazy things in you know the biggest modern video game ever.
Hmm.
So yeah,
You're Minecraft.
a little different that, but to the same vein. There we go. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this could potentially hold for the future. But again, I am worried that this could turn into just a completely boiled down and distilled product that is just more focused on conquering your wallet than it is your imagination.
Hmm.
So, but speaking of things coming in the future, Connor, let's talk about Borderlands 4 possibly coming soon. This is your first penny of the day and our second topic. Take it away, my friend.
Yes, we got to get a GameSpot. That's what it is. Not Game Rant, GameSpot. Article here from Darren Bonthius. Borderlands 4 tease was misunderstanding, developers say. Rumors of Borderlands 4 being in development have sprung up again, and as an actor listed working on the game in their online resume. While that credit has been deleted, actor Angie Jolie caught the attention of Borderlands fans via Reddit with a voiceover section on her CV that listed Borderlands and her role as Ayumi in that rumored game. However, it turns out this was a misunderstanding regarding the name of a future Borderlands project and one that is not actually Borderlands 4. Quote, actor Angie Jolie is a voice actor on Genvid Entertainment's upcoming interactive streaming series, Borderlands Echo Vision Live, which was announced at San Diego Comic-Con last month, end quote. Spokesperson for Genvid told GameSpot. Back on the quote again. While the series takes place within the Borderlands universe and is made in partnership with Gearbox Entertainment, it is not a Borderlands game. We reached out to Angie and asked her to make this change on her personal account to reflect the accurate role with the interactive series. More information on Borderlands Echo Vision Live can be found in this press release, as well as official website here, yada yada. In another deleted listing, producer Nadia Denova also mentioned having worked on Borderlands 4 on their LinkedIn ahead of a 2023 release for the game. Although it's worth noting that this was 2 years ago when they were employed at the developer Moji Group back in 2021. Back in 2021, Gearbox co-founder and boss Randy Pitchford began asking online for skilled developers to join the company for a Borderlands-related job. Quote, we are definitely working on some amazing stuff that I hope will surprise and delight you, Pitchford tweeted. If anyone out there has skills to pay bills and wants to get in on some Borderlands action, we're working on the big one. The Borderlands franchise has been quite active since Gearbox was acquired by Embracer Entertainment in 2021. The same year, Borderlands 4 rumors started surfacing. Since then, a number of Borderlands-related projects have been published. Tiny Tina's Wonderland arrived in 2022 and put a fantasy spin on the Borderlands form. New Tales from the Borderlands was released that same year, and the Borderlands compilation, Pandora's Box, was recently rated by the Film and Publication Board of South Africa. Borderlands Echo Vision Live, an interactive streaming series, was revealed in July, and the live-action Borderlands feature film that has been in development for years has been described as wacky, by star Jamie Lee Curtis. Kind of a weird situation.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So unfortunate that we got all excited about this, but it's just for some TV show or something. But that could be exciting as well. I'm not downplaying that. I would be moderately interested to see what this Borderlands Echo Vision Live is and how it's going to play out in that way. However, I'm a Borderlands fan. Connor, you like Borderlands. Phil, host of the Piggy Bank, is a huge Borderlands fan. I played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands last year. It ended up on my top 10 for the year. It's one of my favorite Borderlands games, and it's severely underrated, I would say, in terms of Borderlands fandom. But yeah, I think a Borderlands 4 is inevitable. Borderlands 3 was a huge success. Sold crazy numbers, had a great long tail to it that, a bunch of people participated in. And I think Borderlands 4 is more than likely going to be coming probably quite soon. 2023 soon? Not likely. Don't think so. Little crowded this fall. I don't know if anybody's taking a look at the calendar, but we are okay. We don't need a big game like Borderlands right now. But 2024 is looking lighter in terms of releases than this year comparatively. For now, of course. There's always more games that we find out later on down the line. So I could totally see a Borderlands 4 coming next year sometime. Whether it's early in the year, somewhere in the middle, or even later in the year, I don't know. Connor, look up when Borderlands 3 came out for me. But yeah, I'm always excited for more Borderlands. I'm always ready for more Borderlands. And for the new one, I'm just hoping that that they step up the writing team a little bit. That one kind of suffered during Borderlands 3. It was better in Wonderlands, but I would really like 4 to bring back some really great staff for their writing team.
Everyone always shits on the writing of Borderlands 3. I saw the standard practice among people who complained about it was just to turn off the dialogue because it was so bad. I saw some bits of it. It's insufferable. It's horrible. So that is really the area they need to work the most in. Borderlands 3 came out September 13th, 2019. So it's been quite a while since we've had a new Borderlands, as you said. It's overdue for a mainline one. Because gunplay has always worked in Borderlands. I don't really know what other things they can do to change up the formula. That's why I'm not in game development. But with that core gunplay, really it is just hinging on the writing not being bad. Borderlands 2, everyone really loved the story. Obviously it wasn't a super narrative-focused game, but the characters were enjoyable. The dialogue there was funny and interesting, and the quests were fun as well. Going back to that from Borderlands 3, and they gained some goodwill to Tina's Wonderland, but whether they'll be able to carry that into the next game, that's really where it matters. I find it interesting that this information just kind of pops up on random things, like on LinkedIn. Just little leaks like that happen. Kind of like places at medieval times. Weird things happen all over the place. Yeah. I don't really have that much of a care. You said I liked it, Borderlands, and I do. It's a fun game, but it's just not one that it's kind of worn out its welcome for me, because even though the gunplay is good, it does kind of feel the same as you go in to subsequent Borderlands. You get different guns.
Well, I love that loop of just starting from zero and building out a character, and the looter shooter, which to me Borderlands kind of was the sort of the insipid origin of. At least it was the first of the kind that I had played. No, yeah. I just think that loop is so satisfying and fun to play, and when you engage that, or when you combine that with really engaging quests and really funny dialogue and really wacky characters and great performances, it just leads to a very, very solid project. I think they're a little bit too long too bloated for my tastes, but every time a new Borderlands comes out, I'm always like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm in. And, there goes 20 hours of my life easy. So. Well, maybe this also fits the pattern. This also fits the pattern since Borderlands 2. We had Borderlands 2, then we had the pre-sequel, then we had 3, and then now we've had Wonderlands. And so I think it's time for 4. And, Connor, you say, oh, they don't really change up the formula or anything. But if you play them like iteration to iteration, like there are things that change each time. That 3 I think is has a lot of really cool systems in place from 2 and from the pre-sequel and so forth. That were really, really, really good, really fun. It was really fun building out the skill tree in that game. And it's focused on revitalized co-op, drop in, drop out. Everything was on a curve based off of your own personal progress, not everybody else's. So if you were higher level, joining a lower level player's game, enemies weren't dog piss easy. They were still challenging and so forth. And that was a lot of great fun. But at its core, Borderlands is just more Borderlands. So I don't blame you for the take you have.
Well, maybe they could change things up with this one in more radical ways, but they probably won't. They know the formula works. I mean, because like you said, that gameplay loop is fun.
Yeah,
like it's enjoyable. It's not really it's not particularly a rag on it because the gunplay is good at its core.
Yeah,
it's just something that I've kind of gotten soft on over time.
Oh, for sure. It gets a little samey. Undeniably, it gets a little samey, but it's so satisfying and so fun, and the little tweaks and things they do to the series over time just makes it so much more engaging. And I'm excited for more. I hope they take some lessons from Wonderlands in that they changed up the formula a little bit in that game and allowed for some new innovative ideas to kind of enter the series. And I hope they sort of apply that to this new main game. I hope that we play around with builds more. I hope we play around with different ideas that we can have as builds and so forth. Like, the character type I played as in Wonderlands didn't have grenades. It was just all spells. So I was, blasting other things. So just having different types of mechanics like that, like spells or things with cooldowns and stuff like that, I think that's more engaging and entertaining than just, continuing to have the same builds. Someone's a little more tanky, someone's a little more critical shot focused, someone has like a little follower or something. I think we should just play with it more. So, but that's that.
Also, before we move on to the next topic, if you haven't played Telltale's Tales from the Borderlands, it's one of the best, some of the best, story that game franchise has to offer.
For sure. Yeah, it was so unfortunate to hear that the new Tales from the Borderlands that came out last year was nowhere near, to the same level as the Telltale version of it, which still remains my favorite Telltale experience. And yeah, I have so much love for that game and those characters in it. Something Borderlands 3 also ruined. So
yeah, they did, didn't they?
Oh God, it was bad. Moving on, Connor. Topic number 3, my second penny of the day. Sony has delayed several first-party PlayStation games out of the fiscal year. This is coming from The Gamer by Joshua Robertson. Cast your minds back a few months. He takes us on a journey here, Connor. Get ready. Cast your minds back a few months, and you'll remember the big PlayStation showcase that was meant to amaze and delight everyone, showing us what we can expect to be playing in the near future. In actuality, the showcase was extremely disappointing for a lot of fans, lacking the massive blockbuster exclusive reveals that PlayStation usually reserves for a show of such magnitude. Well, it turns out there may have been a reason for that. According to Sony's latest financial report, several first-party titles intended to launch within the current fiscal year were internally delayed and pushed beyond March 2024. Sony claims that the, quote, impact of changes in the launch dates of a portion of first-party titles, end quote, has negatively affected its fiscal year 2023 forecast, meaning these games will now release either at some point in mid to late 2024 or early 25. Sony obviously doesn't name the games that were internally delayed, though we can take a good guess based on what we're still waiting on release dates for. And then they go on to talk about it, but let's go ahead and break down that conversation ourselves. Connor, you would assume these are a lot of titles that we kind of already know about. Stellar Blade comes to mind. I was almost certain that game was coming this year, and it just didn't. It doesn't currently have a release date. It's still slated for this year, but I don't think it's coming. There were some other ones. Obviously, the Last of Us multiplayer title seems to be in development hell of some kind as they try to find the fun in that game. There was, talk of Astrobot 2 happening, or a new Astrobot coming for the PSVR 2, rather. There's a Twisted Metal game that is in the rumor mill of happening. And then we don't know, of course, we don't know what Bluepoint's doing. We don't know what Ben Studio is doing. We don't really know what Sucker Punch is doing, but it's pretty safe to assume they're doing Ghost of Tsushima 2. But the fact that we haven't had a announcement of Ghost of Tsushima 2 is like hey, where's that at? Just a little bit, kind of feels like we should know about that by now, right?
Yeah, this really does explain a lot of why we haven't really heard much from them this year, as much as we would have thought. And honestly, it's probably the best bet when you're trying to have a strong year. So many things just get delayed. Might as well just ensure that what the game cycles is going to have a lot of hard hitting games rather than just here and there have a couple of games that just make them good amount of money, but isn't bringing in that wave of cash that Sony clearly wants, considering how much they like to lock down their games on PlayStation nowadays. But
yeah. I mean, you just you look at the lineup and you go, well, we have a lot of question marks right now. Obviously, Sony Santa Monica and obviously Guerrilla just released games last year with Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, so we're not expecting anything new from them anytime soon. However, 2020 was the last time we got releases from Naughty Dog. It's the last time we got releases from Sucker Punch. And, we have Spider-Man 2 right around the corner. Wolverine past that. Who knows when we're getting that? Connor, do you think we get Wolverine next year? It doesn't feel right, right?
Well, we might, because with Spider-Man, for example, when they really start showing us gameplay for that? It was kind of this year, wasn't it?
Like 2 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it came before then. So if we see something like that in like the summer of next year, it's definitely, I would bet money that it's coming out that year. But as of right now, it's kind of hard to say since we've only gotten a teaser trailer. And
yeah.
Teaser trailers can really, we've seen it in the games industry in the past. It could be games that come out in a year, 2 years, sometimes 8 years. And who knows?
Yeah.
And Insomniac, they like to make their games good. This would be no exception, I would assume. So, and the time it takes to make games has just gone on longer and longer and longer. The more things that these companies expect gamers to want, the more the high fidelity graphics, really good performance, a nice, minute details getting a lot of attention, whether it's in the form of how items look or how you interact with them in the world. And that's really hard for Sony when they trying to make money. And they kind of are more in that space of these games that take long years to finally come out. Yeah. And so, as you said before, when they release something like God of War and Horizon, sure, they do well, but now what do we do next? And Naughty Dog obviously is having difficulty getting out the Last of Us multiplayer. We were expecting that to be shown in the PlayStation Showcase because we haven't heard anything about it really in years now. And Still waiting.
It was supposed to be a prepackaged mode in The Last of Us Part 2, and it didn't come. It turned into its own full game, which is what Naughty Dog does, more often than I would personally like. And but even outside of these key studios, we have question marks around Bend. What is Bend Studios doing? I know they've been kind of like lost in the wind ever since Days Gone didn't quite have the return that Sony was looking for. And now it's a matter of like, all right, well, at first they were working on the Last of Us remake, and then Naughty Dog took that over and made it themselves. So now what has Ben doing? What are they working on? What is coming next from them? What is happening on the PlayStation VR front? It's a little dry over there. Where are some of the hit games on that front? Where's Housemarque? What's Housemarque doing? Now, Housemarque doesn't need to be doing anything right now. They just released a game 2 years ago with Returnal, and that one was, I think, quite successful for what that game was supposed to be. And so now we look at all of these multiplayer front games that we have. You have your Fair Games, you have your Concord. There's another one I'm missing. Marathon from Bungie. And you go, okay, cool, but we don't really know anything about those titles yet. we have a pitch, we have some cool cinematic trailers, and so now it's like, all right, but PlayStation is built off of your single player experiences, being top of the line. What can we expect next? Obviously, we're all excited for Spider-Man 2, but and we're all excited for Insomniac's Wolverine, but we now have question marks about what is Naughty Dog up to. We want to ensure that Ghost of Tsushima 2 is going to be a banger like the first one was. And then, you brought up, the extended time that it takes to delay. I believe the new statistic right now is it takes about 5 to 6 years for a new game to come out. And that kind of makes sense with the math when you add it up. God of War and Spider-Man both came out in 2018. You looked at God of War Ragnarok in 2022. So 4 years instead of 5. But Spider-Man 2 has taken 5 years. Last of Us Part 2, 2020. We're probably not expecting a Naughty Dog game for at least another 2 years. At least not one, heralded by their main team, the one that, gave us Last of Us Part 2. They're clearly working on something. We just don't know what yet. And 2020 Ghost of Tsushima. I'm not expecting a sequel to that for at least another year. So
at least that's generous.
Yeah, right? Like, probably 2, right? That feels a little more accurate. It's probably 2. But, maybe they're putting pedal to the metal and giving us something really cool sooner than that. Things that got pushed out. Connor, let's start thinking outside of the box a little more. Not exactly a PlayStation Studios game, but a IP known for being on PlayStation with a creator who has a history with PlayStation games, Death Stranding 2.
Yeah, I always forget that that's the next game coming out. I don't even want to play the first one. But, I know.
I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna make you one day. One day.
You're hoping for that game club bit, because that's the only way you're going to be able to make me do it. So,
it's better than you think.
Sure, find out. But, Hideo Kojima, it really depends on his game, whether it's super similar, like kind of like a Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom situation, where it's the same game with some kind of more unique features topped onto it. Or maybe it's just the same game with higher fidelity graphics, better, feels better to play, and it's just the same game over again. I have no clue what he's doing with it. It's Kojima. He could do something completely different or stay in the same lane.
But the question is DS2 has been announced, and Death Stranding 1 actually had a pretty fast turnaround. From Kojima was sitting down with heads at Sony in 2015, I want to say, something like that, and then turned around and had that game out in 2019. So that's a 4-year turnaround, pretty fast. From nothing. Doesn't have a studio, didn't have a staff, didn't have technology, and put all that together and managed to put out a game of solid quality. It's not the best game ever, but it's a good game, and that's impressive. That shows the strength of that team, that they're able to put something together that fast. Now, it's been 4 years since Death Stranding. What are they working on now? Now, I know Kojima took a little bit of a break, went and produced some movies and TV films and so forth, and seems to be in talks with Xbox about fucking something. Who knows what that even is anymore? So now you have to sit down and wonder, where's DS2? Because we know it's coming. It was announced at Game Awards this last year or the year before?
Last year?
This is the last one, right? Yeah. So, which was... I'm not going to say a Death Stranding sequel is disappointing for me, but I was hoping for something else. But it makes sense. We just poured all of this money into this IP. Let's get something new going. Or a sequel to that going for, let's get some money.
It's a big motivator.
Indeed. And also, does PlayStation need anything more out this year? They've been a little light, admittedly, but PlayStation VR 2 launched, Horizon Call of the Mountain, alongside that, Spider-Man 2 coming out this fall, and other than that, they've had a lot of really great third-party published titles come out. Final Fantasy 16, the most notable of those. Forspoken came out, and obviously that one didn't work out, but we've got... There are reasons to play your PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever in 2023. there's reasons to play your consoles on here. Resident Evil 4, which of course was multi-platform, but you can still play it. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Octopath Traveler 2. I don't know why I'm bringing that one in, but
You've been playing it.
I've been playing it. It's just on the mind. But we've had some good third-party games happening. Armored Core 6 is coming. Does PlayStation need more titles, or is Spider-Man 2 enough?
Seems like they need them since they're delaying a bunch of them for a fiscal year. So.
Well, my point is that they're comfortable with delaying them because they're satiated with what they're outputting this year anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they get their games sell tons and tons of money, like the big IP titles. And Spider-Man's one of the most anticipated games of this year. It's gonna make
Spider-Man's gonna be big.
Cover them.
Yeah.
And Sony last year had God of War. They had, as you said, Horizon. So it's just kind of they made a lot of money over there. It was going to be a lighter year this year for PlayStation games. They got enough covered.
Yeah, and especially because we haven't necessarily felt the buffer that COVID laid for us in on the PlayStation side. You know, 2020 obviously was going to be moderately unaffected anyway. So Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. But then 2021 we had Ratchet and Clank. We had Returnal. Or Returnal was 21. Yeah. So we're doing okay over there. 2022 we had Horizon Forbidden West. We had Last of Us Part 1. We had God of War Ragnarok. So that's 3 years with at least 2 big titles 3 years in a row, and then some smaller ancillary stuff happening as well. They've been killing it. So yeah, 23 feels light, but you know, how light did everything else feel in 22? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas PlayStation had 2 of the 3 biggest games of the year, and then now, you know, it's like, all right, well, we've only got 1 out, and it's just Spider-Man. But it's Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, that's a huge game.
Will it be as big as the first Spider-Man game, though?
It's going to be bigger, Connor. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be fucking huge.
It's gotten more hype behind it.
Oh, for sure.
Which is a pretty tall order in and of itself to do, but it's done it.
Oh, Miles Morales in 2020 also. Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yeah.
So,
they've been fine. We all know Sony's going to be fine, regardless of whether Spider-Man, for some, eldritch reason fails. They'd be good even after that. They're fine.
Exactly. So, like, I think it's fine if they're like, hey, we're gonna, PlayStation's brand is quality. That's what they care about. They care that the games look the best, they play the best, they are emotionally investing in all of this stuff, and they want to be your game of the year contenders with every big title. You know what I'm saying? Days Gone being the biggest one that didn't seem to connect that big. But everything else seemed to be working. So I think they would rather keep the level of quality up and just have a week 23 so that we can come back in 24 and 25 and get back on track with scheduling and so forth. Because we just haven't felt that buffer from them yet. They've had their foot, they've had the pedal to the metal for the last 3 years, and everybody else couldn't. Xbox, we don't need to say, has been incredibly light. Nintendo has been off and on, usually just one major title a year with your Animal Crossings, which aren't everybody's cup of tea. And now Nintendo seems to be back on track. A Zelda, a Mario, Metroid Prime 4 is around the corner, you would hope, at some point. We'll see. And then, third-party output, there hasn't been that many major Square Enix games. Capcom had a great year this year with Resident Evil 4 and with Street Fighter 6. And they have something else coming out this year, don't they? Oh, a rumored Monster Hunter coming around the corner. But how light was 21? Pretty light. We didn't get a Resident Evil title that year. Or, no, 21 was Village. 22, we didn't get anything that year.
And we're beginning more in the future, especially now that they're going into the weird territory of remaking 5 and 6 or not doing that, whatever they decide to do.
Who knows if they're even going to do that, So yeah, I think this is not like a sign of disaster over at PlayStation Studios. I think it's just a sign of them taking the necessary steps to make sure that they can keep their quality up. And hopefully this just means that Spider-Man 2 is a banger. And they
Find
just
out.
trust that Spider-Man 2 is going to make them all the money in the world.
It will. More than they deserve.
And then, Connor, let's move on to our final topic of the day. Your second penny. What have you got for us?
I got us an Insider Gaming article from Grant Taylor Hill. Far Cry has a new boss at Ubisoft, and he's promising big things. It was recently revealed that there's a new sheriff in town where Ubisoft's Far Cry IP is concerned, and his name is Drew Holmes. As a company veteran, Holmes has served as the narrative lead for Far Cry 5 and New Dawn, two top-tier titles that were relatively successful before Far Cry 6 was released to a paltry reception. His promotion comes amidst the development of Far Cry 7.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Was Far Cry 6, did that have a paltry reception?
Oh, most definitely did. Everyone was like, this is more... Obviously, it was more Far Cry, but everyone seems kind of just saying, like, not only was it more Far Cry, it was boring overall.
Interesting.
Like, nothing was really hitting in any way, shape, or form.
See, that was not my take. My take was, it's more Far Cry. If you like Far Cry, you'll enjoy it.
I mean, that was definitely the underlying thing everyone was saying, but even the company, the game veterans seemed to, particularly not like this one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was clear that Far Cry 6's impact was to a much lesser degree than the last couple of titles. But
yeah,
that was just a question in my head. So I'm sorry. Continue. His promotion comes amidst the development of Far Cry 7.
Yeah. Whatever that may be. Previously, Holmes worked on BioShock Infinite, one of the best story-driven games of all time, and the Saints Row series. Well, that last the best story. Well, maybe not so much. And the Saints Row series. So he's got some serious industry chops.
You don't like BioShock Infinite story?
That's one of those games that, as time has gone by, people have kind of called it out for being bad, like writing-wise. Gameplay-wise, it's great, but writing, that game has some bad writing.
I mean, the main story I think is fine. I think it's when you go into like the world building and stuff that it's not as solid. But like the crux of the Elizabeth and Booker story, I think is pretty damn good.
They're those two characters, their relationship. That's not. I wouldn't include that in there, but it's more just we'd have to go back to that game. But we'll play it on the Game Club at some point.
Hopefully, one day with the Game Club. BioShock Infinite is still my favorite BioShock.
Mm-hmm. Well, BioShock 1's the best. But anyway, Far Cry 5 wasn't a multi-award-winning title by any means, but it boasted a great story in one of the most attractive settings so far, Montana. It introduced us to the Seed family, a religious cult motivated by the coming of a new dawn, which of course arrived, given the spin-off title in Far Cry New Dawn. That was a post-apocalyptic adventure that looked far better than Far Cry 5, but didn't really play quite so well. Regardless, Drew Holmes, the new IP director of Far Cry, is optimistic about the future of the franchise. Quote, "It's been an exciting few months. I'm happy to share that I'm starting a new position as IP director of Far Cry at Ubisoft. We have big things in store." Smiley face. "Don't hesitate to reach out if you want to be a part of the next evolution of this great brand." Thanks to VGC for retweeting this quote. It has been rumored that Far Cry 7 could release in fall 2025, and it's reportedly being built using the Snowdrop engine. There's also apparently a standalone multiplayer game coming from within the Far Cry IP, and that's said to be an extraction shooter. As of yet, Ubisoft has confirmed nothing. Our last bit, are you excited about the new prospect?
All right, that's enough insider gaming. All right.
Hey, come on, they were asking a question. Oh.
Okay. Well, let me start with my own take on this story and what it could possibly mean. What I hope it means is that we get some changes to the Far Cry formula, which are, I think, very much needed. I think it's been a little stale for a little while now. As with many Ubisoft titles in general, have just been a little stale. So I'm hoping that this means that Ubisoft is trying to get things back on track. Let's bring some new people in here. Let's change up the formula. Let's do something new. Does this mean we get a Far Cry 7, just another newer title? Or do we get maybe sort of a soft reboot of the franchise? I don't know. It would be interesting to go that way, I think. Maybe it's a little more narrative focused and a little less focus on the open world and the sandbox. That would be kind of interesting to see. Still have the open world and the sandbox, of course, but maybe just pull it back in favor of some narrative. Maybe some narrative choices or something happening in that realm. I think that would be really, really interesting. Something that makes you care about the characters. Sure, you like the baddies in the Far Cry games. Who are the good guys?
Yeah, they always go by the wayside.
Yeah, like your main player character, Far Cry 3 being probably the easiest example. Your main guy's name is
Jason Brody.
Jason, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Is that in the article and I just wasn't paying attention?
No,
Oh, okay.
I just remember.
You
I
had
just
it.
remember that.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like, I think his name was Jason. Who was the guy in 4? No idea. Dog, I couldn't tell you. Who was the guy in 5? Nope.
He was nameless. In fairness, 5 was choose a woman or a man.
Oh, that's right. You could create your character in 5, and that's the thing is like even those things like I forget. Like I just remember going around clearing out the map, checking the boxes off of the map and all this stuff. So the Far Cry formula is in desperate need of reinvention. Hopefully this means we're getting it in some form or another, and that you know the direction that the series goes from here is a more exciting one. You know what I don't want though is I don't want an extraction shooter from Far Cry. Now maybe they're too far along in development to cancel that project, but we've seen projects super far along in development and then get canceled. And obviously, Ubisoft extraction shooter attempts in the past have not always gone super well. The most recent case of this is obviously Rainbow Six Extraction, which I couldn't even tell you if that came out this year or last year. But it just came out and instantly nobody gave a shit. Like nobody cared. And so I don't know if Far Cry has enough juice in the tank to get us to care about that either.
You know, you brought up an interesting point about focusing more on the narrative and less on the open world sandboxy elements that Far Cry has come to be known for. And that really strikes even more so true nowadays because you have games like Elden Ring. You recently had Tears of the Kingdom come out. You have Baldur's Gate 3 that just came out. All of these wide open world games that have so much meat on them. They deviate from the games that people think of as generic open world games, like Far Cry, like the new Assassin's Creed games, and everyone loves those, open world settings because
Ubisoft set the standard for open world video games for a generation.
They did, but after a while, if you just do the same thing over and over again, you don't become this new big cool thing. You become the generic way to do things, especially when other game developers take after you, and now you're no longer in this special space. So really just either cutting down on that or making it to where it's not just, fills to the brim with, oh, go collect this, kill these animals to gain a better water skin, and, oh, go take out this outpost again. For the,
to the point that you arguably get better versions of these games from PlayStation Studios alone. Yeah. Ghost of Tsushima was heralded as the best Assassin's Creed title that year. The Horizon games are kind of like Far Cry games, and I'm having just as much fun, if not more fun, because maybe I care about Aloy's story or the creation of the world, or it's just fun to fight giant robot animals as opposed to the same alligator that I've been killing for 3 games.
Yeah, and that's really just the crux of what they need to revitalize, that and the story. Because Pete Holmes, I mean, he worked on BioShock Infinite, which I know we just recently said a while ago may not be as great. I said that at least. You say that it could be very good. Regardless, being in the development of a game that had more focus on story rather than just exploration that you do, in every single Far Cry game that's come out in these recent years, he could be the kind of guy that could revitalize this. Because I think this is a big make or break moment for Far Cry. Because if it doesn't turn out to be this cool new thing, I'm just like, okay, either just retire the IP or just you're going to keep releasing bad games that nobody likes. And it'll be a mind-blowing thing if they come out with a new Far Cry game later after 7 releases and it's just the same thing. If it's good, I'll be like, wow, they actually did something crazy about it. But 7's the one where they need to do that to actually retain relevance in this day and age.
I agree. I think 7 is the one that you should change the formula on. The problem is that I don't think 7's going to be the game that does it. I think it's whatever comes after 7 is the one that does it. And will it be a spin-off game that maybe less people will play? Maybe. But I have a sneaking suspicion that it will either be total dumpster fire, this is garbage, we hate it, or wow, this is insane. This is a cool take on the Far Cry franchise that we want to continue along the line. As of right now, reading the lay of the land and at Ubisoft and just things in general, I just don't have a lot of faith in the publisher right now. So,
Yep, and that's that.
as always, we will have to wait and see in all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the news on your Two Penny Gamescast. Remember, you can get this show every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, or watch us live every Sunday at twitch.tv/2pennygames. Follow us on TikTok, follow us on Twitter. Social links are down below in the description. New TikTok reviews for Shadow of the Colossus are dropping. We've got the first 2 parts out now, and soon my review of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is live on the channel, but soon will be in TikTok form as well. Make sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment down on what your own pennies that you would like us to talk about on the show. And until next time, have a great time. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
I was gonna strangle you.